because the standard shouldn't change based on who's in power. If Trump can be judged by what he does with his executive power, then Obama should be judged by what he didn't do with his executive power.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine.
Blessings, everybody. This is Damon K. Jones here, and welcome to another edition of the Publisher's Desk. And tonight, this is another warning to Black America. Black elites are now trying to co-opt the reparations conversation. We got to pay attention, brothers and sisters. Something very interesting just happened in America. The Trump administration announced a $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund. Immediately, many of the media outlets framed it as a fund for January 6th defendants. But according to Vice President J.D. Vance, that's not what the fund is. The vice president stated that Democrats can apply, Republicans can apply, independents can apply. He even suggested that individuals who oppose Donald Trump could apply if they believe that they have been harmed by government misconduct. According to the administration explanation, the fund is designed to compensate Americans who can demonstrate that they were improperly targeted, unfairly prosecuted, and harmed by government actions. Now, whether you support the fund or oppose the fund, that's not the point. The point of this show, brothers and sisters, and we're gonna make it clear that the moment America begun discussing compensation for government wrongdoings, suddenly reparations became a mainstream conversation again. Suddenly, politicians are talking about reparations. Suddenly, television personalities are talking about reparations. Suddenly, radio hosts are talking about reparations. Suddenly, Black political elites are talking about reparations. And Black America should ask a simple question. Why now? See, because slavery ain't happened yesterday. Jim Crow didn't happen yesterday. Redlining didn't happen yesterday. Housing discrimination didn't happen yesterday. The destruction of Black wealth didn't happen yesterday. So why is reparations suddenly urgent now by these so-called educated elite Black Negroes who wouldn't discuss it before today? See, we got to understand something. There were people who were carrying the torch of reparations for years before these few Negroes started talking about it. People like Dr. Amos Wilson, people like Dr. Claude Anderson, people like the minister Louis Farrakhan, the same people that these elite Negroes talking now wouldn't be seen in a room in. Whether you agree with every position that they held is not the point. The point is they were talking about economic repair long before it was fashionable. They were talking about wealth creation. They were talking about ownership. They were talking about institutional power. They were talking about economic sovereignty for Black people. And they were talking about reparations for decades. There was no TV specials. There were no viral clips. There were no political incentives. Many of these same Black political elites, radio hosts, television commentators, and gatekeepers who suddenly discovered reparations today either ignored these voices, dismissed these voices, or labeled them controversial. Today, many of the same people suddenly sound like lifelong reparation advocates. But they weren't. And Black America should notice that and put a check mark by the foolery and the gatekeepers.
We're having reparations given out to people that were unjustly treated by the government. Black people should be the first in line. Palm Springs was Black people. Seneca Village, which is Central Park was black people.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't what you did to us in slavery. It's what you took from us after we pulled ourselves for our bootstraps, and then you use the power of the government to take it away. You can't say pull yourself out your bootstrap. Hey, nigga, I'm taking your boots too. And I think if now you can give people that shit all over the Capitol money, you can give people that were shit on by the Capitol money. I just think it's that if you're going to say that these people deserve reparations for the 2 years they might have been in prison, I think 398 years of slavery probably is the same thing. And I think that now you've set the template that these.
Now let's ask a question that nobody wants to answer. Where were these voices during the Obama years? President Barack Obama served 8 years in office. For 2 years, Democrats controlled the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. Yet reparations never became a priority for the Obama administration. Obama never delivered a major national address advocating for reparations. He never established a White House Reparation Commission. Obama never issued an executive order directing federal agencies to develop a reparations framework. Obama repeatedly argued for broad economic programs instead of reparations. Think about that. The first black president in American history had 8 years. And 2 of those 8 years, the Democrats had sole control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. And yet, reparations never became a presidential priority. And let's not forget Governor Wes Moore, who vetoed a reparations bill. He vetoed it just recently. Where was these Negroes arguing with Wes Moore? Nobody said anything against Wes Moore. Not D.L. Hughley, not Roland Martin. Nobody said anything. You had the first black governor of Maryland veto a reparations bill. And many of these same Negroes, these television hosts, these radio personalities, these political commentators who loudly discuss reparations today were remarkably silent. They didn't say anything in the 8 years of Obama presidency. Where were the nightly discussions? Where were the emergency town halls? Where were the pressure campaigns? Where were the outrage? Where was the demand? If reparations was a defining civil rights issue of our generation, why wasn't it treated that way when Obama was president? You didn't hear anything from the Urban League. You didn't hear anything from the NAACP. You didn't hear anything from the National Action Network. See, that's not a reparations question. That's not a Democratic question. That's a Black America question. H.R. 40 was introduced by John Conyers in 1989. Think about that. 37 years ago. 37 years. Congress after Congress, administration after administration, election after election, and yet Black America is still having the same damn conversation. Not because the evidence disappeared, not because history disappeared, not because the case disappeared, but because the political will of Black folks and Black elite that's tied to the Democratic Party never existed. For 37 years, Black America was told to wait. Wait for the right moment. Wait for the right election. Wait for the right coalition. Wait for the right study. Wait for the commission. Wait. And then when we pressured them, like the young brother at the National Action Network, when he called out Al Sharpton and he said, no check, no vote.
Briefly, we have to get going in one moment. Step up, tell us your name, and briefly, what's on your mind? Where's the niece?
Hey, yo, as I look around this room, if you're 35 years old or younger, raise your hand. 4 people. So here's the thing. Y'all in trouble. Yesterday you had Al Green up here talking about we need a Secretary of Reconciliation, and then that's going to include what he said was reparations, which, by the way, wasn't reparations. Reparations is more than a check, but the very first thing it is a check. And come this year during the midterms and in 2028, if you don't have our check, you won't get no vote. No check, no vote. Yeah, I know that ain't what you want to hear, but that's what's happening. All of y'all in here, with all due respect, you're beautiful, but you're old. You're not talking to the youth. You don't know how to talk to the youth. You try to tell us what to do. We're not having it no more. So if you want our vote, you got to come with our paper. We're not scared of Trump. We're not scared of anybody. Biden is a racist. Trump is a racist. Kamala is a racist. And if you...
And Al Sharpton had the nerve to say every politician he supported reparations.
Because you cannot get reparations without putting people in office that's going to pay them. You know, people talking about we have been for all of our existence fighting for reparations, made every candidate pledge to it. You cannot get reparations unless you elect folk that's going to pay it. Who you going to pay yourself?
Then why the hell didn't Obama support Al Sharpton? Why in the hell Obama didn't give an executive order? Why H.R. 40 sat when Obama and the Democrats controlled the three branches of government? They didn't do anything for reparations. The young brother called it. The Democratic Party is racist. The Republican Party is racist. And moving forward, no check, no damn vote. And that's why these elite Negroes is out here talking reparations, because they scared now. They see what elected official does for his constituency, for his supporters. If you don't get anything out of what Trump is doing, brothers and sisters, you see when a person vote, when the MAGA movement put him in office, he gives back. What do you get for your 90% being in one party? What did you get for the last 60 years? You got bad schools from black politicians. You got police brutality in black cities. And they want to deflect from what they're not doing and point at the White House and say he's a racist. But guess what? He's doing for his people. What are your black politicians doing for you? Oh, wait a minute. That's what they're doing. They're asking young black men to give up their scholarships to the South. That's what they're doing. They're asking young black men to step up and destroy their careers because black adults and black elected officials and black civil rights organizations don't have the testicular fortitude to stand with black America. They're too busy playing politics. Carter G. Woodson warned us. If you haven't got the book, get it. The Miseducation of the Negro. 100 years ago, Carter G. Woodson warned black America about something that sounds very familiar today. In the book, Miseducation of the Negro, Woodson warned us about an educated elite that becomes disconnected from the needs of his own people. He warned us about the leaders who learn how to function inside systems, but never learn how to transform them. He warned about educated black folks who become managers of status quo rather than building independent institutions. Woodson understood something many people still don't understand today. The greatest threat to our people is not simply who controls the institutions. The greatest threat of our people is who controls their thinking. And if we are honest, many black elites have spent more time managing expectations than producing outcomes. And this is why black communities throughout the nation, brothers and sisters, are catching hell because they did not do the job that they were supposed to do, and God is exposing them for their hypocrisy. 2026 is the year of exposure. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. God is trying to tell Black America something. And you got these frauds and these gatekeepers trying to keep us from understanding that our time is now to be independent of these parties and become a separate voting bloc. And whoever is addressing our interests, that's who we go to. There's no permanent friends in politics. There's no permanent enemies in politics. They're just permanent interests. The Democratic Party ain't the damn Black Party. Why are we still talking about reparations after 37 years? Why are our communities looking the way they do? Almost some of these Black communities, Chicago and some Black towns look like ghost towns. Businesses is just leaving. And Black politicians don't have an answer for it. And Joy Reid and Angela Rye, Joy Reid had the nerve to make the argument that really caught my attention.
Decided to not only pardon the insurrectionists that he sent to the United States Capitol January 6, 2021, but also he has now said, I'm going to pardon you. I want you to set your path in order. And I also want to give you some money for doing it, Joy Reid. He said, don't even worry about the $10 billion that I believe the IRS owes me. Let me also ensure that they have money. They can apply to 5 commissioners, Joy, and get paid. But when we ask about HR 40 or reparations, even for a study, they don't want to touch that. What you got, sis?
Apparently, reparations are something that MAGA is in favor of. And now that we know, I think that it's really important for us to act on the information that we have received. Now that we know that a president can, without Congress, without going back to Congress, because who knew? You know, there's a fund that Congress has pre-appropriated, as you will know as a former congressional staffer, that sits there in case there are settlements that the government needs to make, so they don't have to keep going back to Congress every time. Donald Trump has now tasked his Justice Department to dip into that settlement fund to the tune of, and you gave me this information, $1,776, in order to give reparations to the insurrectionists. Well, now that we know, sis, the next time there's a Democratic president, I don't want to hear anything about them not being able to do reparations. I don't want to hear it anymore. Okay, so now that we understand the uses of power, we get to apply to that too. So the next time there's a Democratic president, we don't want to have a commission. We don't want to have Congress do a study. We don't want anyone to do a study. You are going to start issuing reparations to the descendants of African, formerly enslaved African people, to the Tulsa survivors' families, to the families of the survivors of every massacre that has taken place with the government of the United States either standing aside or participating. Because now we know that we can do reparations. So guess what, Papi and Mommy Chulo? The Black people are going to be coming up to the table to get reparations. That's number one.
She argued that anti-white weaponization funds demonstrate that a president can compensate people without going back to Congress. She said, if this administration can do it, then future Democratic presidents to stop talking about it. Then why the hell didn't Obama do it? Boy, why didn't Obama do it? He was supposed to be a constitutional scholar. That's what they said he was. If presidents have more authority than what we're told, then why wasn't the argument being made when Obama had the White House? Joy? Where were your demands then on MSNBC? Where was the Griot demands? Where was Angela Rye when the first Black president had power over the Oval Office? Isn't she a lawyer? She didn't know that neither. This is not an attack, but you can't put information out there about this president. You ain't even vote for him. What about the one you voted for? Where was Kamala Harris the 4 years? Why wasn't she talking about it? Oh, wait a minute. Y'all forgot what she said?
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
See, we're talking about consistency from you Negroes, because the standard shouldn't change based on who's in power. If Trump can be judged by what he does with his executive power, then Obama should be judged by what he didn't do with his executive power. How about that one? Black America deserves consistency. Let's think about the argument being made. The argument is that Americans who are harmed by government misconduct deserve compensation. Fair enough. Now let's apply that logic to Black American history. Slavery was a government sanction. Black codes was government sanctioned. Jim Crow was government sanctioned. Redlining was government sanctioned. Housing discrimination was government sanctioned. The destruction of black communities through urban renewal was often government sanctioned. These are not theories, they're historical facts. So if America can discuss compensation for recent government harms, why shouldn't descendants of American slavery, Jim Crow, be allowed to make their case as well? That's a legitimate question. But nobody wants to talk to Trump. Nobody wants to work with that administration. That administration is racist. Nobody wants to sit down at the table with President Donald Trump and make this discussion. You want to complain about it. You Negroes that got the big platforms, the NAACP, the Urban League. Why haven't you called Trump and say we need to sit down and talk about it? See, that's how silly we are. I talked to one sister, I said, if Trump wanted to sit down with you to talk about reparations, would you do it? She said no. He's a racist. Why would I sit down and talk to a racist? Then you shouldn't be representing the black community, because you have to sit down, even if your interests are opposite. That's how government works, or that's how it should work. See, what makes this a moment fascinating, brothers and sisters, is that too many of people are suddenly asking that question today, but they were absent when Dr. Amos Wilson was asking it. They were absent when Claude Anderson was asking it. They were largely absent when Farrakhan was absent. These same Negroes wouldn't even be in the same room as Minister Farrakhan when he was talking about reparations and traveling throughout the country. They wouldn't even touch Farrakhan. And they were absent while H.R. 40 was in Congress. Young Negroes ain't talk about H.R. 40 until now. Same Negroes was absent during the Obama administration. And here's the warning to Black America. Don't let these Negroes co-opt the reparations struggle. See, the rise of independent Black media has changed everything. Like brothers like Tim Black and the other brothers that I watch on YouTube and social media. These are the people that the establishment ignored, but they kept speaking out. You know, I'm a product of Dr. Bob Law, one of the baddest independent radio hosts. And God bless his soul. He's talked about reparations for decades. See, we talk about reparations, and independent Black media talk about ownership. We talk about economic sovereignty and political leverage, and we challenge both political parties. And we ask the uncomfortable questions. But when we ask the uncomfortable questions, gatekeepers like Roland Martin try to call us anti-Black. Now the establishment is trying to catch up where we've been talking about it for years. See, one of the oldest political strategies is not to defeat the movement. What these Negroes is doing now is trying to absorb the conversation inside their platforms. See, once they adopt the language, and then they adopt the slogans, and then they adopt the talking points, then they sound like the movement, but they ain't part of the movement. See, you blur the distraction between those who built the conversation and those who arrived after it became useful. That's what Joy Reid is doing. That's what Angela Rye is doing. D. Hale Hughley, Al Sharpton, and all these other gatekeepers. And then suddenly everybody sounds the same. See, and when everybody sounds the same, brothers and sisters, people forget who carried the message when nobody else would. So the real question is this. This discussion is not about whether reparations are deserved. This discussion is about consistency. This discussion is about timing. This discussion is about accountability. Because if reparations is a moral issue today, it should have been a moral issue under the first Black president, Barack Obama. If reparations is urgent today, then it should have been urgent 10 years ago under Barack Obama. If reparations deserve national attention today, they deserve national attention when Dr. Amos Wilson was teaching, when Dr. Claude Anderson was writing, when Minister Farrakhan was speaking, and when H.R. 40 should have been advocated for 37 years ago and every year after. But these Negroes didn't put it on the agenda at MSNBC or CNN. You could even go to the National Action Network website. Ain't no reparations there. Congressional Black Caucus, ain't no reparations there. The Democratic National Committee, ain't no reparations there. And we give them 90% of our vote. And then you let ALC run around the country bastardizing Black history and our struggle. White folks can't even take us seriously. What are we doing, Black people? Black America, what is going on? Black America must learn the difference between a movement and a marketing campaign. A movement exists before politicians arrive. A movement exists before television cameras arrive. A movement exists before everything becomes profitable. The people who carried the reparations conversation when it was unpopular deserve the recognition. The people who ignored it when it was inconvenience deserves the scrutiny. And now a few educated Negroes and done discovered reparations after the creation of a government compensation funds deserves questions. Where were you when Obama was president? Where were you when H.R. 40 sat in Congress for 37 years? Where were you when Dr. Amos Wilson was teaching? Where were you when Dr. Claude Anderson was warning us? Where were you when Minister Farrakhan traveled the country talking about economic justice and reparations? Where were you when independent Black media was carrying this conversation without your damn support? Because politics is not measured by speaking, it's measured by outcomes. And for 37 years, John Conyers introduced H.R. 40. Black America is still waiting. And the question is no longer whether reparations should happen. The question is, why are so many Negroes talking about it now? And if you got anything from this conversation, please like and share. Share it with your friends. And please go to blackwestchester.com. It's the news with the Black point of view. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and stay Blacktastic. Peace out.
Black America, political loyalty without results is not power. Sign up and get your free ebook by Damon K. Jones. A seat at the table is not power. Building the table is. This book exposes how political dependence weakened our communities and lays out a blueprint for Black economic, political, and institutional sovereignty. If you're ready to move from symbolism to ownership, this is for you. Download it free today. Follow Damon K. Jones on YouTube and stay connected to empowering conversations that challenge the mind, strengthen the spirit, and uplift the community. Subscribe to Black Westchester YouTube and at Damon Jones on YouTube for powerful content on life, culture, community, faith, politics, health, and truth that makes you think for yourself. If you're serious about political clarity and independent thinking, this is for you. The Political Thought Bundle includes 3 full books, all personally singling. Democrats and Republicans, The Ultimate Gangbangers, breaks down how the two-party system operates like a legalized street war for power. Emotional Politics, Logical Failure exposes how emotion has replaced strategy in Black political engagement. Tolerance is for Cowards lays out a blueprint for extended policing and community-led public safety rooted in outcomes rather than slogans. 3 signed books. One bundle, $60. That's a $75 value. And you're getting signed copies included. This isn't left versus right. It's results versus rhetoric. Go to twosteppublishing.com and secure your signed Political Thought Bundle today. It's going to be Blacktastic. For more than a century, Black America built its own economy under segregation, under discrimination, and under conditions most people today cannot imagine. We built businesses. We built banks. We bought land and property. In The Forgotten Blueprint, Damon K. Jones reveals how Black communities created thriving economic systems from 1800 to 1965 and why that blueprint still matters today. This book challenges the idea that our future depends on politics alone and shows how ownership, family, and enterprise once powered Black prosperity. The blueprint is not lost. We just stopped using it. The Forgotten Blueprint. How Black America built its own economy from 1800 to 1965. On sale now at Two-Step Publishing and Amazon. Black Westchester magazine has been giving our community a voice, reporting the stories others ignore, holding power accountable, and making sure the truth about our communities is told by us. But independent Black media only survives when the community supports it. If you believe in real journalism, community accountability, and keeping Black voices strong in local news, we need your help. Your donation helps us continue covering the stories that matter: politics, education, justice, and economic empowerment right here in Westchester. Support Black media, support Black truth, support Black Westchester magazine. Donate today and help keep Black media alive. Because Black-owned independent media is Blacktastic. Black Westchester magazine presents People Before Politics, the Sunday Rundown, every Sunday at 6 p.m. on YouTube. Join Damon K. Jones, AJ Woodson, and Larnez Kinsey as they break down the biggest stories in politics, culture, and community from a Black point of view. No spin, no party loyalty, just logic, accountability, and outcomes. If it impacts Black America, we're talking about it. Tap in, subscribe, set your reminder. This Sunday at 6 p.m. is going to be Blacktastic.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.